Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X. This is Nation Town TV Live. We're going to get into the crucifixion of our brother Lakeith Stanfield, who is a very quickly up-and-coming black actor who was faced with that notorious litmus test. And we're going to get into that, but also we're going to deal with that litmus test as well as the details of what our brother went through. And we're going to keep it all the way 100. So let's get it.
I was told to deliver this message.
Rio.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X. This is Nation Town TV Live. And as I mentioned before, we will be dealing with this topic right here, appropriately titled The Crucifixion of Lakeith Stanfield. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the brother. He's a fast rising and up and coming actor who was faced with that notorious Farrakhan litmus test. And we're going to get into what that is and the ramifications of that. But first, let me start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. But with all due respect to all the prophets and messengers of Almighty God Allah, from Abraham to Lot to Moses to Jesus and even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with all due respect to them, I have to bear witness to the prophecy of the Holy Quran that said certainly a messenger would be raised for every nation. You'll find that in Surah 14:4, where it says that he will not only be raised for that nation, but he'll speak their language. You'll find it in 16:36. You'll find it in 10:47. And then in 44:5, Surah 44:5, it says we are ever sending messengers, and that messenger that was sent for us, for you, and for myself here in the hills of North America is none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And these two great men, their hands came together to give us a mercy in our midst, our divine leader, teacher, and guide, G-U-I-D-E, the criterion himself. I'm speaking of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and those three great names. I greet all of you in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language. That's the language that we spoke long before we knew anything about this grafted, bastardized language called English. In fact, it's the language that we spoke long before we knew or ran into the grafted bastard that taught us that language, the Caucasian. We greet you in that language in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. Nation Town TV. I see you, Brother Hakeem, Brother Jerome. Wa alaikum salam, Brother Randolph. Peace to you too, dear brother. I'm doing fine by Allah's grace. And shout out to Zumu Uzu. He said, what Guan blazing is, whatever that means. I think that's that beautiful patois dialect of the Caribbean. Shout out to all of you beautiful brothers and sisters. As we get into this topic, like I said, we're dealing with our brother Lakeith Stanfield. Now, you know, if you are I guess you could say, registered believer in the Nation of Islam longer than 15 minutes, or you've been a sympathizer to the Nation of Islam. We call sympathizers those who admire the minister, you know, support the nation every chance they get, but they're just not registered members. You know, I have the distinction of being someone who's done both for, you know, a period of time. I was a sympathizer for several years before I became a registered member. But whether you're one or the other, you know about the Farrakhan litmus test. The Farrakhan litmus test is essentially when the enemy, to get a gauge of where you are mentally, they don't care what you know. They don't care what you know about the history of Kemet. They don't care what you know, what you learned in your African American histories class in college. They don't care that you got a Black Lives Matter t-shirt on. They don't care about what protests you went to. After 60 plus years of work, after 40 plus years of being in the seat of his spiritual father, no matter what goes on in the world, it always comes back to that Farrakhan litmus test. What do you believe about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? Is it yay or nay? Are you for or against? And oftentimes, in fact, the main time that the Farrakhan litmus test is executed, you never hear about it. It's usually executed in personal conversations, in the office, in the elevator. You go and kick it with your white friend and you're his token black friend. And he want to make sure that you belong to him. So he asks you, what do you think about that Farrakhan guy? And litmus, I want to deal with what litmus itself means, because litmus is actually a chemical agent that's used to test the, I guess you could say, the ingredients of a liquid. And it gives you the results by changing the color. It either turns red or blue. Let me show you for yourself so you can see it, not just taking my word for it. Litmus is a blue coloring matter obtained from certain lichens, especially Rochella tinctoria. In alkaline solution, litmus turns blue. In acid solution, it turns red, and is widely used as a chemical indicator. So it's actually a scientific term, but it's since become more of a social and political term, which means a litmus test to kind of tell where you stand or where a particular thing stands, if it can stand other things. It's a litmus test. It's to see where you are and see what you made of. But it's interesting that it has its roots. The word litmus has its roots in a thing that operates by changing the color of a thing from one color to another, depending on its chemical body. So that's what the litmus test is. And our brother ran into that test. And for me, it kind of hit home because me and my wife, we don't watch a whole lot of TV, but probably half of the stuff we watch got this brother in it. Now, some of you may not, the face and the name may not ring a bell, but the first time you probably seen him was probably, ironically, this right here. He had a small but very powerful role on the movie Get Out, where he was kind of the finished product of where the main character was headed. He was a brother who was completely in a sunken place. And he was screaming for help through his eyes. And our brother is a wonderful actor. Let's not get it twisted. Our brother is talented. He's extremely young, too. A lot of actors, especially black actors, unless they're a rapper or something, they don't really get it. They don't really break into the industry until they're well into their 30s, late 30s, even 40s. I know Samuel L. Jackson didn't become a household name till he was 50 or in his late 40s. This brother's only 29. Keep that in mind. He's only 29. He's also on the hit television show Atlanta, another great show that I love. He did a really unique movie called Sorry to Bother You. And most recently, again, ironically speaking, he had a key role in this movie, Judas and the Black Messiah. Judas and the Black Messiah. Okay, so what happened? What happened with my brother? The brother was on the new app called Clubhouse. Clubhouse is something I can't really get into myself. Meaning I'm not a fan of Clubhouse, but Clubhouse is kind of like the party line they used to have back in the day, but it's on the internet. It's an app. And people are talking. You don't see people like Facebook and Instagram, which it kind of seems like backwards technology to me. It's kind of like when people went from talking on the phone to texting. It's like backwards technology. But anyway, it's a thing where people get in groups and they talk about a particular subject. He was invited to a group by a brother named Sam Beto, I believe. And in this group, keep this in mind. This is a key point. In this group, there were Christians, there were Jews, there were Caucasians, there were a few black people. It was headed by a black person, not Lakeith Stanfield, but his friend. I believe he already knew this brother, previously, and he invited him into this, and he made him a moderator, to attract people to the group because he's a celebrity. So here he is, he's in there. It's a multicultural thing, and they're talking about Judaism. They're talking about the controversies between the ADL and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They're talking about Palestine and Israel, the whole nine. They're going back and forth in there. And mind you, Lakeith Stanfield did a lot more listening than talking. And when he did talk, he made it clear that he's just trying to learn more. It mostly revolved around, and the most heated conversations revolved around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He never made a definitive comment for or against the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But the people who were speaking, particularly the ones who were speaking in support of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and mind you, they weren't all black. The Jews that were on the line, the Jewish people that were on the line, they were losing their mind because the typical propaganda that they usually steer and control was getting out of control because these people were just stating facts. They were stating facts like who a real Semite is. A real Semite is not an Ashkenazi Jew. It's actually anybody that's in the part of the world that we call the Middle East. Is really just Northeast Africa. But the Arab culture is a Semitic culture. It's a Semitic people. And the original Arabs were much darker than me. The original Arabs look more like this hoodie. Shout out to MUI, Muhammad University of Islam. But so they got upset. It's kind of like back in the day when you were children, the one who got mad because they wasn't winning the game, so they'll quit the game or take their ball and go home. So they got mad. And then one Jewish lady on the line posted or said in this clubhouse, mind you, it's an audio app. It's not words being posted or video, it's audio. One Jewish lady said, "Oh, we're gonna come after you, Lakeith Stanfield. The Jewish mafia, as she called it, are gonna come after you. We're gonna cancel you because you should have," this was the charge on our brother, "you should have shut down this whole clubhouse." Now, mind you, it wasn't his platform. He wasn't the main moderator of this. He was just there to listen and to discuss. He never he never took a definitive stance in the whole thing. But just because he didn't stand up and defend the Jewish people in Israel, since they couldn't defend themselves in their own belief system or their own culture, because let me say this first and foremost before I say anything else. Judaism, as described in the Torah, is a beautiful way of life. I'm going to say that again. Judaism, as described in the Torah, the Pentateuch of the Old Testament. Some people call it the books of Moses. I love the book of Exodus, and any black person should. I love the book of Numbers, and any black person should. Or whatever you call yourself. If you are of the Aboriginal people of this earth, you should read the book of Exodus and the Bible and the book of Numbers, and cheer every page. Beautiful. Because it's talking about us. If you but knew, if you understood. But this Jewish individual got so upset. And they were all upset. There were rabbis on the line, the whole nine. They got upset. And since he was the celebrity on the line, the sole celebrity, they pigeonholed him and said, "We're going to come after you because you didn't stand up and say, 'Wait a minute, guys, leave my white friends alone. I'm in Hollywood and I have to be nice to them because they signed my checks. Leave them alone.' Even though all you're doing is stating facts and truths and they can't handle it." So since they did that, all of a sudden it was on TMZ. All of a sudden it was on all these websites, which are all Jewish owned and operated. It was put out there that Lakeith Stanfield was, moderating and controlling some anti-Semitic meeting on Clubhouse. Even though the people that were invited into this room, it was a rainbow coalition. Everybody was represented. Black, white, Christian, Muslim, Jew. Everybody was represented from the jump. It wasn't like it was some black folks who just had a little side meeting on Clubhouse and then some Jews just happened to stick their head in and say, "Hey, what was going on?" It wasn't like that. That's not how Clubhouse works. People were invited in and it started off 100% and it ended 100% a diverse group of people. So they didn't like just the fact that he didn't act the way they wanted him to act. It wasn't something that he said. It wasn't like he said, "You know what?" He didn't even say something similar to what Damon John, the founder of FUBU, what he said after the DMX homegoing. It wasn't a situation where Lakeith Stanfield posted a tweet and said, "You know what? I really like this Farrakhan dude. He the truth." He didn't say nothing like that. Didn't even mention Farrakhan. He was, like he said, he was listening and he was open to learn. They didn't like that. They didn't like that. So here's where it really got nasty for me. Like they say nowadays, for me. This is what did it for me. This is a reporting of his response. He went for like 3 days. Our brother went for 3 days apologizing for even being a part of the group, apologizing for not shutting down the group or speaking up in defense of these Jewish people in this discussion. I don't know why they felt. I do know why. I'm actually playing coy, like we say in the hood, playing stupid. But I don't know why they assumed that he should take up for them. I mean, look at the brother. He don't look Ashkenazi to me. He don't look Yiddish to me. But for some reason, they felt like they owned him. So he spent the first 2 days apologizing. And then the last thing he said was this. Lakeith Stanfield opens up about anti-Semitism controversy. I do not support Louis Farrakhan. Now let's put this in perspective real quick. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Before we go any further, shout out to everybody chiming in. This is Nationtown TV, brought to you by NationtownStore.com, your NationtownStore.com. Get your black, 100% black owned, black operated, black distributed, eating fresh personal care products, soap, toothpaste, lotions, shea butter lotion, the whole nine. Get you a pie, some cookies, the whole nine. And we also have the Nation of Islam's own delicious Mexodus coffee. Make sure you get you a pack of that for all my coffee drinkers. Even if you ain't a coffee drinker, this brand of coffee will make you a coffee drinker. Also, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Go to YouTube, subscribe to @Nationtown TV. And of course, show us some love on Cash App, $Nationtown. 10% of your contribution to $Nationtown does go to our Yes Ma'am program, Meal and a Message, where we provide healthy and wholesome meals to those in need here in the Los Angeles area. We're expanding. The next time we do it is going to be in Bakersfield, California. And we provide these meals and care products, the same kind of meals that we would eat, the delicious bean pie, wheat bread, bean soup, the whole nine. So definitely show your love to $Nationtown on Cash App. Now going back, shout out to everybody that's chiming in. I see you, brothers and sisters. I see you, brother Ahmad. All praises due to Allah. Congratulations to brother Ahmad, man. He got another soldier on deck. All praises are due to Allah. Brother McKinley X, wa alaikum salam. Also, let me congratulate him and his wonderful wife. I don't want to leave her out. She did the heavy lifting, brother. You did the fun part. But anyway, praise be to Allah. Shout out to brother Tevis. Shout out to, again, brother Jerome. All praises due to Allah. But as I was saying, our brother didn't make a stance in support of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He was just there. But let's put it in perspective. Let's take all the frills off of it, all the decoration, and let's really look at it for what it was. It was a virtual room, but it was still a room. It was a place. And it was actually predominantly Caucasians in this chat room. But they told this man, this successful young brother, I'm pretty sure is a millionaire or well on his way to it, you can't come here. And if you were to come here, you had to do exactly what we wanted you to do, or you shouldn't have been in there at all. That's what they telling him. No different from me walking into a cafe in 1955 in Selma, Alabama, and them saying, nigga, didn't you read the sign on the door? No colors allowed. And if we do let you in here, you got to do what we tell you to do. If we hand you a broom, you better sweep. If we hand you a toothbrush to clean the bathroom, you better do it or get the hell on. That's that mentality. How are you going to tell a free black man, that you can't peruse something on the internet? Just looking, he just perusing. He window shopping. He didn't make a stance. He didn't stick his chest out and say, I'm down with Farrakhan. He didn't do none of that. In fact, the most definitive stance he took was after the fact when he said, as I just posted, I do not support the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he left out the honorable. But let me first be clear on this. I'm not here to bash my brother. If anything, I sympathize for him. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry that in 2021, a man with millions of dollars or well on his way to it, who's broken into one of the hardest industries there is to break into. I mean, you got a better chance of being a doctor, a lawyer, a brain surgeon than being a successful black actor, young black actor. And he plays good roles. He don't play your typical, thug and slave and all that. He and he's so good at what he does. He's so talented. And for a brother like that to not be free to just go into a chat room, I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for him, but there's no ill will. No ill will for my brother. But it brings me to another thing. In the Nation of Islam, we have the Final Call newspaper. And the predecessor of the Final Call newspaper was the Muhammad Speaks newspaper. But in both of those newspapers, past and present, in the back of the newspaper, you have something called the Muslim program. And in that Muslim program, it clearly states what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. I think it's 10 points of what we want, 12 points of what we believe. And the first point that's mentioned on there is this right here. This is the question asked most frequently by both the whites and the blacks. The answer to this question, I shall state as simply as possible. The question that he's mentioning is, what do the Muslims believe? Number one says we want freedom. We want a full and complete freedom. When I first read that when I was a teenager, and to this day, I always thought on that, man, what did the messenger mean, full and complete? I thought freedom was just freedom. This situation with Lakeith Stanfield gives you a clear example of how you got freedom over here, and then you got a full and complete freedom over here. See, the kind of thing we think with freedom, first of all, we think freedom as typical Negroes, brain dead Negroes, not black people, but brain dead Negroes. We think freedom is just freedom, free to be dumb, free to do all the dumb stuff that we learn from our Caucasian friend, free to smoke what we want to smoke, lay down with who we want to lay down with, or just the freedom to be near to him, nearness to Pharaoh as is described in the scripture. That's what we think freedom is, but full and complete freedom means I can say what I want to say, which technically America is supposed to give us the right, the amendment right for us to have freedom of speech. I can say what I want to say. I can stand on whatever principles I want to stand on. I can worship whatever kind of God I want to worship. And not only do I have that right, but even if you don't like it, I'll still be all right. Because there's something going on that I'm undergirded by that allows me to speak my mind. That's why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that he is the freest black man in America, really the world. Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is not in a situation where he says, I don't want to say that, because my handlers over there, my handlers over here won't like it. If he second guesses himself, we are taught in the Nation of Islam to think 5 to 10 times before we speak. But if he second guesses himself, it's not about what white people would think. It's about the effect that it'll have on us. So sometimes he pumps the brakes on going too hard on us about a particular subject, too hard on the brothers or too hard on the sisters, depending on the subject. Using the right words. Words matter. That's the only time he pumps his brakes. But it's always stratagem. It's always a strategy behind it. But he never pumps his brakes on what he needs to say to our open enemy, because he doesn't have to. He does not have to. Before, we talked about, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the situation with Tamika Mallory and her doing the Cadillac commercial. And one side I would have to take with the Tamika Mallory's of the world is that's why you have to buy your leaders before somebody else does. Every year we got something called the Savior's Day gift where we take care of our minister. We take care of the man that's been fighting for us for over 60 plus years. So we don't have to worry about losing a check by speaking his mind. So no, I'm not mad at Lakeith Stanfield. Now, did he fail the Farrakhan litmus test? Absolutely. He absolutely failed it. He absolutely failed it. But like I said, I'm not mad at the brother. In fact, this whole topic is inspired by an article that's in last week's Final Call by the same name, which is the crucifixion of our brother. Our brother got crucified, man. He got crucified for trying to learn. Think about that. What was the rule in slavery? Especially the first 200 years of slavery. If you got caught on a plantation in Georgia or Alabama or wherever, and they caught you reading a book, no matter what book it was. It could be a children's book. It could have 5 pages in it, letters this big. What could happen to a young man or a young woman that was caught reading? Man, you get your testicles cut off, you get a foot cut off, you might get killed outright, buck broken, sold to a worse plantation, away from your family. And here we are in 2021, and it's still happening. You can't sit on a virtual chat room. It wasn't like a little meeting at a hotel ballroom or something. He didn't come to the mosque. But even if he did that, you mean to tell me that in 2021, you could be driving a Mercedes, you could be wearing all designer clothes, but you can't go where you want to go? Think about that. Now let's look at this. Because another thing that it reminds me of, shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. Brother Ahmad pointed out his son's name, Brother Kadar Asim Muhammad. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful name. All praises are due to Allah. All praises are due to Allah. Another soldier in the ranks. Praise be to Allah. But another thing that this situation reminded me of, it reminded me of a particular scripture in the Holy Quran, Surah, I want to say 24, ayat 12. And this is directed toward not just Brother Lakeith, but to all those who are faced with the Farrakhan litmus test. And keep in mind, we only talk about it when it happens with a celebrity, but it happens to average everyday people all the time. Your lunch break on the construction site. The minister's always in the news one way or the other. And then, your white foreman comes around and says, hey, man, you heard what this Farrakhan guy is talking about? What do you think about it, Jamal? All these people sitting around you all eating their sandwich, but they point out, Jamal, what do you think, Jamal? Because me personally, I don't see color. What about you, Jamal? Remember what litmus means. It deals with color. What do you think, Jamal? But this is in the Holy Quran, Surah 24 and 12. Why did not the believing men and the believing women, when you heard it, think well of their own people and say, this is an evident falsehood? Now, I could say to Brother Lakeith, why didn't you think better of your brother, Minister Farrakhan? But the key word in that is believing. Believing men. Believing women. Brother Lakeith is not a believer. He's not a registered believer. He's not a sympathizer. He hasn't heard the teachings. And there's something else we got to remember when these celebrities or politicians fail this test. We have a saying in Islam, it's taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that when all else fails, there's Islam. Islam comes when all else fails. It doesn't say Islam comes when you get that part on that movie that you wanted so bad. It doesn't say Islam comes when you win an Oscar. It doesn't say Islam comes when you get to play a dream role, or when you become a household name, or when your album goes platinum, or when, no, that's not what it says. See, a lot of these celebrities, it hasn't all failed for them yet. Now, some of y'all might be looking and say, well, it ain't all failed for me, and I follow the minister. Well, that's you. Some of us are made Muslims in the wombs of our mothers, regardless of what she believes. Please believe the minister, the God is producing Muslims and believers in the womb. And he's going to set up certain things in your life that's going to send you straight flying to Islam. So everybody's not born like that. Everybody doesn't run into that path. Some of us are going to come from a teaching. Some of us are going to come from a whipping. Lakeith has not had his whipping yet. Damon John has not had his whipping yet. A lot of even Barack Obama, he failed the test. He ain't had his whooping yet. And you might not even know about it when that whooping comes. So don't think it's going to be front page news. And don't think they just going to turn up in the mosque one day and, and put $100,000 in the charity receptacle and say, you know what, I'm done with this world. That'd be nice, but it ain't going to go down like that. And some of us who think all hasn't failed for us, it really has. There are people in the Nation of Islam who wanted to be in Lakeith Stanfield's shoes. Didn't work out for you. And then somebody encouraged you to come to the mosque and you said, you know what, man, I'm tired of this world. Tried to be an actor, man, tried to get a record deal, man, tried to do this, tried to do that. This devil is something else. And then you came into the mosque and somebody taught you who the real devil is. And you said, man, this is what I've been wanting to hear all my life. That time has not come from this young brother, 29 years old. I didn't know he was that old till I did my research just today. Because he's a very talented, I'm telling you, I'm not going to stop watching the brother's work. He's a fantastic, he's a better actor right now than I guarantee you than what Samuel L. Jackson or maybe even Denzel Washington was at that time when they were 29. I don't even think Samuel L. Jackson was on at 29 yet. I don't even think he had any major parts of this. So he's on fire. He's a very talented brother, but he's just he's one of many. And he just it hasn't all fallen down for him. But he's going to run into some situation in his life. It might be next year. It might be when he's 80 years old. But he's going to run into a situation where he realized, damn, I'm a grown-ass man. And I had $1 million in my pocket. And I was on billboards all over the world. On movies all over the world. And these Peckerwoods told me where I could go and couldn't go. That's going to dawn on him one of these days. But that's on him. That's his trial. That's his trial. But to all the future contestants of the Farrakhan litmus test, I'm going to ask you this question again. Why didn't you think better of your brother? And realize an evident falsehood, because my brother is intelligent. And I'm just asking on these intelligent brothers and sisters to do your research before you just immediately bend over. With that said, now, what I've noticed lately, and I'm going to close on this, shout out to everybody chiming in. We won't be on long, but I do intend to be on strong. What I've been noticing, shout out to Brant Dixon chiming in. I'm noticing lately a trend. Well, it's not a trend. It's been going on for a long time, especially on social media, where somebody does what Lakeith Stanfield does or anything similar, and black folks just go in. We just go in on that person, call them all kind of coons, all kind of this, all kind of that. And then it kind of turns into a circus, because we will drag that brother or sister through the dirt as if we're spending 98% of our money in black-owned businesses, as if we not all operating on the mentality that success means living next to white people. Success means sending my child to a white school. That's what 98% of us believe. So we really not qualified to call anybody a coon. It says in the Bible, wheresoever a man's treasure is, so is his heart. If you spending all your money with white-owned businesses, especially on stuff you don't even need, if you think success is living with white people, being around white people, doing white things, you're not qualified to call nobody a coon. I'm sorry, but you got this thing going on where people are just, I'm not gonna say no names, but people just going in on individuals who failed a FAR contest, or they show their coonish stripes in some other way. I remember how hard they went in on the DA, the black DA, district attorney of whatever of Kentucky, after the Breonna Taylor verdict, or the Breonna Taylor decision, not even to prosecute. And I asked myself, man, why do we do that? Especially given that we're not qualified to do it. Because we talk about this all the time on Nation Town. We got some real coonish tendencies as black people. Some of the most so-called woke of us got some real coonish tendencies. So we really don't qualify to call somebody a coon or to say that they did this or did that. But why do we do it? Well, I got a couple of theories. We just going to call them theories. And we're going to get up out of here. Here's the first theory. Calling out coons is a safe and easy way to relapse our self-hating Negro ways under the guise, that means like a mask, of pro-blackness. What am I talking about? Calling out coons is a safe and easy way to relapse our self-hating Negro ways under the guise of pro-blackness. Listen, if somebody trying to get off of dope, crack, alcohol is worse than crack in a lot of ways, or any type of drug, they came up with something called methadone, which makes it easy to kind of wean somebody off of heroin. I'm not sure how successful it is, but it's a chemical that has a similar reaction in your body as heroin. It's kind of like the nicotine. Then they got the nicotine patch, which gives you vibes and gives you a chemical reaction similar to nicotine. So you kind of get what your mind thinks is a benefit of nicotine, but it's not. And it allows you to just put the cigarette down, or put the heroin, as they call it, the hype needle down, and get off of heroin due to the methadone. Well, a lot of times pointing the coon finger is like methadone for coons. Because we wearing the costume as a wide awake Negro, as a woke individual, but deep down inside we still a gangbanger. We still hate ourselves. We still look in the mirror and don't like the texture of our hair and the color of our skin. We still don't like ourselves. So this gives us an opportunity. Oh, I get to do the same thing I did when I was a Crip, when I was a Blood, when I was a religious gangbanger, when I was this, when I was that. When I hated the color of my skin and the texture of my hair and everything about the community I grew up in, I get to play that role again. But now I can say I'm not doing it because I'm ignorant. I'm doing it because I love my people. That's one reason that we do it. These are just theories. There's another reason. Deep down, some of us really worship celebrities as deities of the white God we really worship. You know how Jesus represents God? Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of God. Abraham, the friend of God. Moses representing God. Some of us still got some worship in us of white people. And since we think that all of these celebrities were, granted their celebrity status by white people, which there's some truth to it and some not so much truth. And we're going to talk about that in a hot minute. We think, oh, this is the closest a Negro can be to being white, so I respect them. So as soon as they fail us or disappoint us, it's like Jesus disappointing you, or Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, disappointing you, or something like that. So it hurts, it hits us right in our feelings. Because we were worshiping them in the first place. Idol worship, celebrity worship, personality worship. That's another reason. Is a third reason. This is my favorite. The reason why we go so hard on each other in these types of situations, KVs and KV-minded Negroes cannot resist a Mandingo fight. This is why websites like World Star Hip Hop are so famous and so popular, which is majority black hood fights, black female hood fights. That's why Jerry Springer was so popular in the 90s, because every episode it was so-called ghetto black people fighting each other. This is something that's been going on since slavery. The Mandingo fight is what you saw in the movie Django. Leonardo DiCaprio had these two brothers fighting each other to the death, and then the winner got a piece of chicken and a white girl for a minute. Or a high yellow black girl. High yellow, as they used to call them back then, slave wench for the night. And a little bit of liquor. And today we still love Mandingo fights. We love to see two black people going at it. This is a slavery old tradition. So when somebody has a social media platform and somebody is labeled a coon, and they say, oh, we're going to go in on so-and-so and so-and-so, we cannot resist it. We cannot look away. We can't wait to see, yeah, tell that coon, tell that, get it. Because deep down, a lot of us hate ourselves. But if we really thinking, let me show you this photo again. I want you to pay attention. This is from the movie Django. Pay attention to what you literally see right here. Who's that in the background? That's your boy, Leonardo DiCaprio. He's playing the role of a slave master. Look at him looking on and just enjoying every move, every swipe, every punch, every kick, every drop of blood. Every time we go at each other on a public forum, I'm not talking about going at transgressions. You know, like they say, hate the sin and not the sinner. I'm not talking about going at the idea of being a coon, the idea of being a sellout, the idea of just being a punk, because that's really what it is. At the end of the day, you're just a punk. You're getting punked. We should go at that full speed with no chaser. But when we going at individuals, see, that makes it personal. And then it doesn't even achieve the so-called objective. That's how I know these three theories that I just dropped on you have some truth to it. Because if the real objective is to eradicate the existence of a coon and a sellout, think about it. If you got a house that's infested with roaches and rats, what's the best way to deal with those roaches and rats? To take your shoe off and smash each one at a time? Is that the smart way to get rid of it? No, you want to bring some poison or some type of contraption into that house that kills them all wholesale. So even if they give birth to new ones, new roaches, new rats, they gonna die too. So when you attack the transgression of just being a coon, just the idea of being a coon, then that's gonna kill today's coon and tomorrow's coon and make yesterday's coon feel bad too. But when you make it personal, that means that the other coon that got next, the coon on deck, he watching like, oh, that's just between them. He ain't talking about me. And if he come at me, then I come at him, and it's a personal thing. But we got to make just the idea of being a coon, of being a sellout, of just getting punked. Just getting punked. Because like I said, at the end of the day, it comes down to just getting punked. You're a grown man or woman, and you let somebody come to you that don't know you, don't really understand what your people are going through and been through, and then you don't even know all the facts yourself. You don't know Minister Farrakhan. You don't know what's really going on. And it ain't just the minister. The litmus test, it spreads all across the diaspora. But when it comes, they did the litmus test with Dr. King. They did the litmus test with Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Biko. They probably did the litmus test all the way back to Shaka Zulu, all the way back to Hannibal. What you think about this nigga Hannibal coming over the mountain on an elephant? What you think? You think you like him? So they continue to do this, and we continue to fall for it, but you're getting punked. Think about it just like when that brother step on your brand new Jordans at the club or whatever, and you ready to kill and fight. Cause he think you that nigga to step on your Jordans. No, I ain't no punk. I'm gonna show him. Well, listen, man, these Caucasians, they stepping on our Jordans every day. And we just like, sorry, boss. I sure wish I could make my foot flat enough for you to step on it better next time. See, come on, man. Don't get punked. Don't get punked. But shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. Hit us up on NationTown, $ NationTown Cash App. Hit us up on NationTown Store. Also keep in mind, dear family, that everything on NationTownStore.com is free shipping, independent, black owned, black operated, black distributed products. Now moving along, and we done after this, family. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Y'all can hit us with your comments and questions, and also make sure y'all share this message. Share, and share alike. Shout out to everybody. Let me hit a couple of these comments up. Brother Randolph says black actors would be better economic supporters of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Of course. Hell, garbage men would be. Anybody that got a dime in their pocket, man. The economic blueprint is calling for dimes and nickels. Dimes and nickels. Brother Darrell, love you, big lieutenant. All praises due to Allah. Love you, top soldier. Brother Jerome says another sign of conquer and divide. The oldest trick in the book, brother. Oldest trick in the book. Brother Randolph said a zip coon. Brother Jerome says make us as a people look weak. It makes us look weak, makes us look so easy to manipulate. That's why emotions got to be in check. Because when you emotional, that is the easiest point of manipulation. That's the easiest point of manipulation. And emotional is just not being mad. Sometimes we get too happy. Oh, I got this record deal. Oh, I got this part in this movie. And we get too happy. Somebody as talented as Lakeith Stanfield, when he gets a role, he should have the mentality like, yeah, you niggas better give me this role. I deserve it. I know I'm dope. I'm not talking about being arrogant or being cocky. But what's funny is that right now, black people in Hollywood, for those that don't know, I'm in Los Angeles. Black people in Hollywood, right? Did you know black people in Hollywood right now are at the same position that Jews were in Hollywood in the early 20th century? I know you don't think that Warner Brothers and a lot of these major studios have always been ran by Jews. No. Especially like Disney. Walt Disney was considered an anti-Semite. The man, Walt Disney. They say he didn't like black people either, but I know for a fact that he was accused of being an anti-Semite. Now, if you go to right here in Los Angeles, to Burbank, the ABC Disney lot, you go up in there where all the corner offices are and everything, I guarantee you the majority of them are Jewish. But what Jews did when they were in the industry, you know, they might get a writer job, they might get a director job, they might get a job as a grip, you know, carrying the microphone, carrying the equipment. But they always worked in a collective manner. They always supported each other. They weren't in competition with each other. They got to the point where they could make their own little movies. And then those little movies were successful. And then they just snowballed their influence. And they really invaded the industry and took it over. And that's not anti-Semitism. That's just facts. And it's a compliment. I salute the Jewish diaspora. I salute them for doing that. They pulled a coup. The movie industry was brought about by the Anglo-Caucasian. And the Jewish community came and snatched it from them and said, no, we got this. Appreciate it. Now they run everything in Hollywood. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. I don't even see why they get ashamed of it. The type of stuff you should be ashamed of is somebody saying, oh, you're black, so that means you're a thug. That means you got 4 baby mamas. That means you're dumb. That means you're violent. See, that's the kind of stereotype you should get mad at, but y'all don't have that problem. Y'all got stereotypes like y'all run the banking industry. Listen, man, I can't wait till I can say black folks run the banking industry. I can't wait. Every time somebody said, I'd blush like a little girl. If somebody came to me and said, hey, Brother Landon, did you find out, man? Hey, we run the banking industry. Man, I'd be so happy. You had to calm me down. So it ain't a knock on them. It's just a fact. They took it over through unity and working in a collective manner. Now, before I get off of here, family, I can't let all of these Farrakhan litmus test failures or flunkies, I can't let them 100% off the hook. I'm just talking about all of them because it's been happening since the 80s, man. I think the first official litmus test failure was probably Jesse Jackson. But he's a good friend of the minister. I'm not knocking Jesse, just saying, and, do your research on that history. But I'll say this, and we're going to get up out of here. Now, with the acting industry and movies, and I discussed this with my wife yesterday, I ain't making no excuses for him, but I kind of understand. Because here's how it works in Hollywood. They got a part. Let's say the part calls for a black character, black man or black woman. That means about 150,000 struggling, eviction notice on the door having, ain't paid their light bill in 3 months having, black folks, some of them living out of their cars, trying to make it big in Hollywood. They all going to descend on this one audition for this one token black character in this one movie. So they feel like I need every advantage that I have, whether it's the casting couch, whether it's failing the Farrakhan litmus test, whether it's acting as fake as I can act, kissing whoever's behind, because it's 150,000 people going for the one part. It ain't like if you white, especially now, they got all these TV shows, all these streaming services, Netflix, Paramount, all this kind of stuff. It's a lot of work out there for a white actor. But if you black, man, one role, they all fighting for it. But all of the Farrakhan litmus test failures don't come from Hollywood. They come from sports. They come from the business world. They come from politics. Now, these are industries where it's all about your talent. Listen, man, if you're a football player and you run a 4.2 in the 40-yard dash, you rushed for 1,600 yards last season. You in the NBA, you averaging 30 points a game. Listen, man, that owner is not going to trade you, bruh. He is not going to cut you, bruh. Have some faith in your own ability. See, that's our problem. We'll make it, and this goes for every black person that's somewhat successful. We'll make it to the height of heights and work hard, have sleepless nights, at home working when all our friends are out playing, grinding. And then we'll get to a certain level and we'll tell ourselves, I got here because some benevolent white man put me here. It ain't the fact that I run a 4.3 in the 40. It ain't the fact that I'm 6'8" with a soft jump shot. It ain't the fact. No, it's just this benevolent white man. He could have went to anybody else's school. He came to my school. He saw me hit a couple of shots, and he just decided out of the goodness of his heart, I would like to sign him to the Lakers. That's not how it works, bruh. You know how much trash they overlook of a person's character just to get him on a football team? You could have raped 3 or 4 females. You could have smoked dope. You know what I mean? You could have pimped your mama. You could have did all kind of stuff, and they'll cover it up if you're a good enough player. Believe in yourself more. Believe in your enemy less. He's not as powerful. He's only as powerful as you make him. And then I gotta say this. I gotta say this. Like the brother said in the comments, know your worth. Know your worth, man. And when you get to a certain point, okay, boom, you got $30 million. Go holler at Ice Cube in the Big 3 League and see what y'all can put y'all heads together on. How long you gonna keep being an employee? Yes, these athletes are employees. Yes, these actors are employees. Yes, your favorite rapper is an employee. They rapping that boss stuff, but they are employee. They shucking and jiving. They do these things at record companies where an artist literally gets on top of a table and starts performing in a room full of Caucasians. And they just looking at them like, let's see if this nigger is up to par. And then they give him a golf clap when he done. And he didn't got up on that table and called his women all kind of bitches. He didn't sit up there and he killed 30 black people in his lyrics just while he was on the table. And then he get off the table, he huffing and puffing. Y'all, what y'all think? Y'all like that? And they like, yeah, that's all right. You kind of sound like Lil So-and-so and Lil So-and-so that we signed last week, but you all right. We'll see. We'll call you, don't call us. It's like, man, like the brother said, know your worth. But it is the truth of the matter. Some of y'all might think this is mean, this is racist, whatever the case may be. But most of the people y'all scared of look like this. You scared of some Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm looking Caucasian. This is who your favorite rapper's scared of. This is the type of person that your favorite comedian, your favorite celebrity that you think is so cool and so gangster and so this and so that. This is their worst nightmare. That this type of dude is gonna call them and say, you know what, we're not gonna pick up your next album. We're not gonna exercise the option on your contract. We're gonna trade you to Milwaukee. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We gave the part to somebody else. Sorry, oy vey. This is who they scared of. You gonna let some 120-pound Larry David looking dude scare you and punk you? I mean, they let you have an entourage of 13 or 14 felons. And they don't mind it. That's his posse. That's his clique. Those are his friends from back home. But they won't let you sit there and listen to a conversation about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that's not negative. Somebody getting punked, man. Somebody getting punked. We just don't look at it like that. And then let's keep in mind, family, to keep it all the way a buck. We got a president, speaking of the DMX eulogy that the minister did, we got a president who did the eulogy for this man. We have a sitting president that did the eulogy for this man. Now, let me just give you a little bit of disclaimer. The photo you're looking at may or may not be Photoshopped, but the face that you're looking at is Robert Byrd. He is a self-admitted former member of the Ku Klux Klan. He was called I believe, a Grand Cyclops. And for the brothers watching that's in the nation, a Cyclops is kind of like a lieutenant or a captain. And their main job was to recruit others into the Klan. Now, the reason why I think this is probably Photoshopped is because he was an active member at a pretty young age. He was in his 20s, and it don't look like a man in his 20s. But listen, man, the KKK ain't something you just walk away from. I know he made lifelong friends, and he went to those friends when he decided to become a politician. And I know they voted for him. I know they did. These are Caucasians protesting him. Caucasians protesting him. Read the placard. Byrd was a former member of the KKK. They snitching on their own brother. And our sitting president, the 46th president of these United States, did his eulogy. Which black celebrity is going to stand up and say, we demand that you repudiate that man? You'll be waiting until your dying day. You'll be waiting until your dying day. Howbeit that no man spake openly of him for fear of the Jews. Howbeit. And to those who don't really know the minister and haven't really listened to his teaching, I mean a full lecture, Just keep this in mind. Take your Bible if you're a Christian, or your Quran if you're a Muslim, and superimpose it over the world right now. Take the story of Moses. You know, he killed a man. Yeah, Moses was a stepper. He killed a man in the second chapter of Exodus, 11 through 22. He saw a man being attacked by a Jew. He's a Jew, but he saw an Egyptian attacking him. And he defended the man, and he killed the Egyptian. Now, the minister ain't never killed nobody, contrary to dumbass belief. I just got to call it what it is. Pardon my English. But the interesting thing about Moses is when he came and when he was commissioned by God to free the Hebrew slaves, that was the first thing they brought up. You know how we say in the black community, man, why you bringing up old stuff? The first thing they brought up is, oh, wait a minute. Ain't that the Moses that killed that Egyptian back in the day? Even though he did it for a righteous reason. And the minister has verbally killed a lot of people. He's verbally killed a lot of falsehood. He's killed a lot of falsehood that's been implanted in our brains. And it was so offensive to those who were the purveyors of falsehood that they took it like he actually killed them physically. So every time the minister makes a move, if he just offers a word of solace to a grieving family at a funeral, you always got these devils chilling in the background, just waiting on him to show his face and then say, oh, he's the one that said Hitler was great. Yeah, he said Hitler was great. Look up the word. Great means massive. The worst economic event in the history of America was called great. They called it the Great Depression. So when the New York Times called it the Great Depression, were they making fun of America? Even though they suffered as a company? That doesn't make sense, does it? Because you're not thinking. You're not thinking. Superimpose your scripture over the world today. Superimpose it over Jesus, who in the 8th chapter of John, he called a group of Jews devils. Oh, you thought you thought Elijah Muhammad started that. No, the Jesus of your Bible. Superimpose it over today. That's what you should do. And Jesus called in the 8th chapter, 8:44 to be exact. Chapter 8, verse 44, the book of John in your Bible. Jesus called a group of Jews. They was going back and forth. It was like a rap battle. They was going bar for bar. And Jesus won. He said, you are just like your father, the devil. He was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. Superimposed. Even Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace be upon him, after the hijrah from Mecca to Medina, when he moved himself and the believers to Medina, they were surrounded by Jews. And Prophet Muhammad, out of the good of his heart and the revelation that he was getting from God, instead of fighting the Jews, he actually tried to broker peace treaties with them. And they signed those peace treaties. They agreed to those treaties, and then they reneged on those treaties. And when the Quraysh came to attack, or when anybody came to attack the Muslims, the Jews would always secretly take the side of whoever was attacking Prophet Muhammad, even though Prophet Muhammad only tried to work with them. And he was eventually poisoned by a Jewish woman. Superimpose your belief system over the world today. Who matches the roles? Since we talking about acting, cast the roles. Cast the roles and see who fits what part. And for those of you who are not religious at all, oh, I ain't religious. I know what you worship. You worship Hollywood. You worship movies. You talking about the red pill and the blue pill every day. Okay, well, look at The Matrix. You know, what was his name? Mr. Smith. He kept popping up on Neo, on Keanu Reeves, fighting them and all of that. Which person, which black leader, everywhere they go, here come Mr. Smith. Or should I say Mr. Kleinfield, Mr. Stern. Everywhere he go, here come a white man in a suit, bothering him. Just superimpose whatever it is you believe in over the world you live today and cast out the parts. That'll give you an idea. That'll give you an idea of who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is. I'm about to close out, family. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. Brother Muhammad Khalik said, walking through the book and ain't even know it. That's real. That's real. Brother Jerome Blakely said, facts. All praises due to Allah. Sister Rose said, teach. All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. Celeste. Sister Celeste said, that's how I teach it. Speaking truths. All praises due to Allah. Just facts, man. Just facts. But here's the thing. Before you stand on these kind of facts, and I'm talking to, the potential next runner-up, the next the next person that takes this Farrakhan litmus test. You got to have integrity to stand on this. And let me say this before I get out of here. To the believers and to the supporters of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I got to say this. Remember earlier I mentioned when all else fails, there's Islam. A lot of us have not been thoroughly tried yet. A lot of us haven't been thoroughly tried. It's a lot easier to say, oh, I'm with Farrakhan to the end, when you don't have much to lose. Or you haven't even lost anything yet, or you haven't even come close to losing anything yet. I go back and forth in my mind, just to give y'all a little background of your brother. Like I said, I was a sympathizer of the nation since I was a teenager. And I go back and forth on, man, I should have got registered earlier than I did. Because if I would have got registered when I really should have, or when I could have, I'll be going on like my 23rd, 24th year in the ranks. But days like this, I thank Allah, because Allah is the best of knowers that I got registered when I did. Because when I did get registered, everything had already failed. Every other option had failed, and I was 100% done with this devil's world. This devil's world had no pull on me at that point. Had I came into this life earlier, there would have still been some pull, because 10, 15 years ago, there was some pull. Your brother didn't fall off the mother plane. I'm sorry. There was some pull 15 years ago. There was some pull 10 years ago. There was a little bit of pull. It disintegrated over the years, but it was some pull. But for those of us who be so quick to chop off a brother's head for failing this test, or a sister's head, just understand, man. The days, by the grace of Allah, the days are over when you get a knock on the door. The minister talks about, and a lot of elder believers talk about the days where as soon as you got your ex, you got a knock at the door from a federal agent just to ask you a bunch of questions. And think about it. This is the 40s, 50s, 60s. And you thinking you just joined a new church, and you got a knock on the door and they asking you questions. What do you know about these Muslims at this temple? The black Muslims. Are you a member of the black Muslims? And you just visited. Sometimes if you just visited, you got a knock at your door. Unfortunately, those days are over for some of us. As a believer, I've seen some things around me that are kind of fishy. But back in the day, you just got a straight up knock on the door. Those days are over. So a lot of us don't really know. What will it be like if you got put in an interrogation room, and like they say, they put a jacket on you, and they say you got to sign this paper that says the minister did this and did that, or you going to lose everything you got. Have we been there yet? Have you not been there? If you haven't been there, then be easy. Stand on your square, but be easy. Be easy. Because that's the way a lot of these people are looking at it. They're not coming to the mosque. They're not coming to FOI class. They're not learning in MGT class. They don't know they the second self of God. That black man don't know that he's God. He don't know. He think the white man is God. So God is knocking on his door, calling his phone, or hitting him up on Twitter and saying, you got to repudiate Farrakhan. Or that deal we just signed with you, forget about it. You be lucky if they let your ass on Sesame Street. It's over. It's over. You might as well get a podcast or something. It's a wrap. All praises due to Allah. But with that said, family, on that note, it brings to my mind a scripture in the Holy Quran. It's from the 29th surah, the spider. It's called the spider because how the spider in his web catches lightweight creatures. The web looks strong and it looks so it looks so magnificent. If you just look at a spider web, it's really a work of art. It's beautiful. It looks strong. The spider puts a lot of work into it, and it looks so, so it can be intimidating, but it only catches lightweight creatures. If you walk through it, it's just a nuisance. I know I ain't the only one that didn't walk through a spider web and got you looking stupid. Somebody looking at you across the street like, is that brother having a seizure? But no, you done ran into a spider web. But ain't nobody died from walking into a spider web because it's only for lightweight creatures. But in that Surah 29 and 2, it says, do men think that they can just go along with saying they believe and not be tried? We are ordained to be tried every year, and we seeing people getting tried on a grand scale, on a large stage, and it's easy to judge them like you judge their performance in a movie or their performance in a game. We can't even judge that. You think you could act that role better than that? Do it. Go. You think you can score more points than brother did last night in the game? Go ahead. If you can prove that you can play, the Lakers will sign you. The Heat will sign you. Any team will sign you. And it's the same thing when it comes to trials. You think you can do better? Okay, your time is coming. My time is coming. Let's see what we do. But with that said, family, I'm going to leave you as we strive to do each time with the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And there is no irony when it comes to Allah, but this is the moment where I decided that I was done playing Muslim and I decided to fall in. I was in the crowd at this particular event. It was one of the most beautiful things I ever saw in my life. I'm not old enough. I didn't have the opportunity to go to the first Million Man March, but I was able to go to the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March, which was 10-10-15. And I heard this beautiful man speak to the world. There's about 1 million people out there. Beautiful sight of all races, all creed. He had the TPs out there, all the tribes out there, all the black folks, the Moors. It was Hebrew Israelites out there, black people, Christians, man, youth programs. It was just beautiful. But the minister's gonna talk a little bit about that integrity that you need to stand on your square. So I'm gonna leave y'all as I greeted y'all with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Demand for justice demands integrity. The demand for justice demands selflessness. The demand for justice is bigger than all our lives. So the demand for justice must give us the will to wish to sacrifice our life because the many are greater than the one.
I was told to deliver this message.